Good morning all. It's Wednesday 4th of November and time for the first of this month's Virtual Card and a Cuppa. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Fiona Whitten and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator who lives, and I live in not far from Wokingham in Berkshire. So I have a bit of a cold frosty morning today. But luckily I didn't have to deal with that. So I'm at my mum's, so hopefully things all go well. So hope those of you who have the kits, hopefully you've found yours and you've got them. And this is what you should have. And I will go through this quite quickly. So today we're using the Brightly Gleaming Designer Series paper. You will have, well, some of you may actually remember this from last year. It was paper and stamps and punches that were in last year's autumn winter catalogue, but it had proved to be so popular that they have brought it back. So you'll find it on page 19 of the August to January mini catalogue. So we have a stamp set called Christmas Gleaming. Get my tongue around that one. We have a pair of punches. And we have the Brightly Gleaming Designer Series paper. This is called Specialty Designer Series paper because there's copper foiling in it, and I'll show you all that in the moment. Last year they bundled the stamp set and the punches, and this year they have actually bundled the stamp set, the punches, and the paper. So you get 10% off all of those if you purchase them as a bundle, but obviously you can still buy them individually if you want. So that is the what I'm using. The paper, as I said, has copper foiling, and it coordinates with copper foil, mossy meadow, night of navy, pretty peacock, and very vanilla. So I don't know if you can see all the copper foiling. So we have holly leaves and berries, just a antique type geometric design. This is kind of like a mosaic tile one. Another geometric pattern, stars and baubles. I haven't got very big pieces on here because I actually cut it all up for you guys for the kits. So that's why I don't have much of that, but hey ho, it's not the end of the world. But you can see this is what it looks like in more detail. So your kit should contain the following: your very vanilla envelope, your mossy meadow card base, a piece of very vanilla to go on the inside, and then also a piece of night of navy, which is not quite the full length of the card. You've got a piece of the Brightly Gleaming paper, which fits neatly into that. You should have a strip, which is for the inside or for your envelope, whatever it is that you want to do. And then you should have two different shaped punches. So this is the one that corresponds with that punch. And then this little one corresponds with this punch. So you have one each of those two different sized ornaments. And then you also have two what looks like very scrappy pieces of copper foil paper. I had real fun making these. So these are designed to be glued onto your ornament, like so. But you need to be especially careful with it because this is copper foil. If you get glue on it, it makes a bit of a mess, and you can get it off, but it's a bit of a pain. So just a little bit of glue on the back is really all you need for that piece, and also for this piece. Okay, so hopefully they're still in your envelopes and you haven't thrown them away thinking they were just a little bit of stuff that wasn't supposed to be there. So these are all the cards that I have made so far. So this is straightforward. Glue your larger piece of the paper onto the Night of Navy rectangle, and that's glued directly onto the card front. I then glued, and you can see, look, I made a bit of a mess of that one. So that's, it kind of goes a bit non-shiny. You can get it off. Actually, I found that my glass is cleaner. Not the wet ones, but the I got a dry cloth. Actually gets that stuff off pretty well. So yeah, you want to glue those little tops on, and then what I used is a stylus. So like one of these things. So this is my take your pick tool with the stylus end. Yeah, it actually has two different size balls on it. So and I used a ruler and just scored these two lines on each, just so it does look a bit more like an ornament. And then before I glued them on, I stamped a sentiment. Now I actually used the sentiment from the stamp set, which actually says, "Deck the halls with boughs of holly." Well, I haven't got any holly on this, so what I did is I used some washi tape to go over those two lines, inked it up, and then peeled the washi tape off, so that I just had the "Deck the halls" inked up. So then I stamped that, and then once I'd stamped it, I glued those two on. Actually, they're not glued on. They're got dimensionals underneath, so they're standing slightly proud of, let's see, don't know if you can see, slightly proud of the card itself. And then on the inside, I simply glued my strip of designer series paper, and then glued that in. So that was my first card. My second card was, I cut things up and did something slightly different. So instead of using the lovely shiny baubles, I used the reverse side. So if you look from here, so that's the original paper, and this is the reverse side, so it's sort of like a geometric star pattern. So I used that, and so I cut the paper, and I cut the Night of Navy, and I cut the paper smaller so that actually I had a larger border. And then my ornament on this larger one is simply glued to the card front, and then that one's got dimensionals underneath it. And again, I used the same stamp as I did on that first card. Used the masking technique. So I masked off the two bottom lines, inked up, and then stamped on the paper before I glued it onto the Night of Navy. Because obviously if I made a boo-boo, which could happen, I could just simply have turned the paper over and just use the ornament side, and then maybe put a sentiment here. So, you know, if you do make a little bit of a boo-boo, don't worry, just turn it over and put your sentiment somewhere else, or don't even bother, but just put a sentiment inside. So because I've turned the card from portrait to landscape, it does mean that on this one that the fold is at the top. It's not too bad because this is a pretty strong card and it doesn't tend to separate. And then again, I've got my Whisper White, oh, dearie me, my designer series paper glued to the very vanilla and then glued inside. So those are the two cards that I have made. I will put the cutting instructions up later so that you can follow them. And I just suddenly realised I needed to get a ruler out as well, so I'm ferreting in my bag here. And I've got that for the next card. So those are the two that I have made. So I'll bring back my kit that I have. Now I don't need the envelope, and let's see, just what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to glue the tops on these, simply because it's then giving it enough time to dry before I score it. So you don't need to go too mad with the glue, but you do want to make sure that it does go over all of it. If I had a pair of tweezers, I would pick that up with some tweezers, but I just realised I didn't bring them with me. So I'm going to be very, very careful with this. And you'll notice that one of them has thinner prongs on the end, so that's the one that goes on the smaller ornament, and the one that has the thicker prongs goes on the larger ornament. So you just need to put it on, try and make sure it's level on there, like so. It's pretty much there. I'm not going to push it down, because I know if I do that, that means I'm going to end up with glue all over my fingers, which then means it goes all over the copper foil. And then again, I'm just going to just put a little bit on here. It really is a case of less is more, but at the same time, you do need to make sure that you are, oh dear, this is going to be the one that's going to be the pain. I'll just clean my fingers before I turn it over. Right, and then this one, no, see, I've already dropped it, just not a good sign. Hey, never mind. Oops. Normally you could just use the erasers that we have, well, that some of you have, that's good for getting glue off cardstock and stuff, but that just seems to make even more of a mess on these, on the foil, so you don't really want to be using that. So I'm just going to move that, let it be for a little while, let that dry. Okay, so leave those two to dry, put them to one side for the minute. And then the $64 million question is, what am I going to do with this card? Because I hadn't really thought about it, but I'm actually going to make a quick version of a fancy fold. Hopefully it will work. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just one of those. So we're going to take a base card. Now we know that the front of this is 10.5 centimetres by 14.9 centimetres, because it's made from half sheet of A4. So this is 10.5 across. So let us, actually I'm going to turn it around the other way so that I can score it that way. So I'm going to score it at 5, I think I'm going to do it at 4.5 centimetres, because I want the side that's closest to the fold to be slightly larger. So I'm going to score it at 4.5 centimetres. Put that to one side. And then I'm going to fold this back. Try and make sure it's square. Which I don't think I made a very good job of that, but apologies if you can hear any banging noises in the background. I think it's the army on training again. We're not that far from the barracks at Minley. So that's going to be that. And then what I think I might do is I will glue this to there like that, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do it this way, and then I can put the ornaments on here like that. All right, okay, so I'm going to cut this up so that we have a piece of it showing behind this, behind here. In fact, actually, you know what, I think I might actually use that piece. So the piece that we would normally put inside your card, that will fit there. Oh, look at that. stranger things have happened, or not. So yeah, so that works. So I'm going to glue that then to my card front, to the piece that is closest to the fold of what would normally be the main card. So I'm going to glue that here. I'm hoping you can see all this. I haven't moved it all out of that. Just make sure it's not overhanging. You can see it from the back because you don't really want that. So that's it. So that works. I have to say that I didn't actually plan this. This is me just winging it at the moment. So I'm amazed that it fits so neatly. So I'm just going to trim off the edges there because I don't need those. So that's that. Okay. So now we have this piece which we can glue to here. And now the $64 million question is, do I want to glue that as well? Or maybe I'll glue that way. That's quite cute. And then the ornaments can go, or you can hang them off the edge, or whatever you want to do. Let's see. How do they work with that? This is the problem, it's choices, choices. There's so much you can do, even just with this little kit. You can play around too. So yeah, kind of lost it on there. What was that other first card? Yeah, you could see it on this one because it was hanging off. So it didn't lose it on the paper. So I either have it hanging off again, which I don't really like, or I turn it over. It's very heavy on the green then, but I don't have a problem with that. And then move this so that it's kind of in the middle. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. But first, before I do that, these should be dry now. So you need to take a ruler. You need to take your ball tool, and you just line up the ruler with, oops, she says, I've got it caught, this point and going across and that point going across. So, oops, and because the ball tool's quite, even though I'm using the smaller one, because it's quite wide, you need to go slightly below the line so that your ball tool will actually go where that crevice is, and then similarly on this one. So you've then got an ornament that has two scored lines on it, but it makes it look even more of an ornament, in my opinion. Hopefully you agree, but you don't have to agree. Okay, so I'm going to do the second one. What's that? And let's see. Hopefully that's kind of where I want it. Sometimes it's easy just to go across it again and make it even wider. Kind of hides if you've gone slightly off. If you've got a hole punch, you can put holes in them and put some twine or copper thread or whatever you want to through it. So that's that. So I've got my two ornaments ready. I've got my card front kind of almost ready. Now I need to think about, because I'm going to use the same stamp set. Now, what do I want to use? I think I'm going to still use the Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly. So I'm going to use this stamp here. And I'm going to need a block. so. Probably need to make it a bit straighter, but that's fine. Now, so I don't want with the boughs of holly. So as I said, what I do is I take a piece of washi tape. Doesn't need to be a huge piece. It just needs to be something that is, post-it notes, cut up post-it notes will do as well. It just needs to be enough to cover those two lines that I don't want. Make sure it's well and truly down. And then I need my ink, which, here we go. So what ink shall I use? I think I'm going to use Night of Navy. So I've got my Night of Navy ink. So I'm going to ink that up. So I don't know if you can see. So obviously my Deck the Halls is inked, and then I've got a load of ink all over the washi tape. Whatever you do, remember to remove the washi tape, because otherwise you will end up with a great big black or Night of Navy mark going right across, and you don't want that, surprisingly. So I'm going to, remember, I'm not using with boughs of holly, so it's just the Deck the Halls I need to be happy where I'm placing it. So I'm going to put it here. Yep, that's fine. No need to turn the paper over. So then this is going to get glued to this. Actually, it's not quite dry. Could see it's still shiny. Right, I just need to be careful when I'm doing. And I know it's a shame to cover up all the copper foiling, but needs must at times. So I'm going to put that on there, like so. I'm being careful not to go rub my fingers over the sentiment, just in case. So that's going to go on there, like that, which is actually pretty much central in the card. And then I just need to work out what I want as my arrangement for this. And I think actually I quite like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue that one directly on, and that one I'm going to use dimensionals on. Before that though, I'm going to see if I can find my thing for cleaning my glasses. This is probably going to prove me wrong now, and it won't come off. No, it's coming off just, but you don't want to rub too hard because obviously you don't want it to go through the foil, but you get the gist. So glue this one on. I think I said I wanted it about here, so I'm going to glue that one on, try and make sure that it's straight. I don't know if you've noticed, but those of you who have the ornaments that I've punched, I was very careful actually in punching them to make sure that the designs on the front were kind of geometric and you weren't having something that was a bit offset and looked a bit odd. So hopefully that's how yours looks. Now I need my dimensionals, and as always I'm fighting. I keep them in a little box that a friend gave me, and I always seem to fight my way into them. I don't need to go too mad with the dimensionals. So we only need 2 on it. So I'm going to put that there, like that. And then the question is, do we dimensionalise that onto there or glue it? And I think I'm just going to glue it. So make a mental note as to where the line is, that you know where the fold is underneath for the Mossy Meadow cardstock, because you don't want to be putting glue on this edge. Be a bit of a, otherwise you'd be sticking it to the back there. So you know you want to glue, so this edge, so my top edge there is the bit that I want to glue. You can be quite liberal with it because you obviously you don't want it falling off. You could use dimensionals, but that's just it's a personal preference, and obviously it does mean that if you use dimensionals it's going to cost a bit more to post it. So there we go. So that's that. Oops, I think that just moved. So it will, when it's, yep, it will. It'll look, when you open it up, it'll look, let's see, I probably might be a bit too close. So it's like a Z fold. So it's a very quick, easy, fancy fold to do. Just gives a little bit of extra interest. So now I've got my very vanilla cardstock to go on the inside. If you've got the stamp set, you can obviously stamp ornaments on it. If you've got the paper, if you don't and you want it, let me know. I can help you order that, or you can just go straight to my online store. Let's see, what shall I do? Shall I leave it, or should I put? You know what? I'm gonna go mad. I'm gonna put another ornament on. So I'm going to find my stamp set. I mean, you could put holly on. There's a geometric shape, but I'm not very good at, because I don't have my stamp apparatus with me. Trying to put them all in line would be a bit of a thing. Got some already here. What have we got on there? I think I'm going to go for this one. Now I've not glued down the very vanilla yet, which is just as well. Oops. One of the things that I like to do is, especially when I'm doing something on an edge of a card, is I will have it so that the stamp is going off. So rather than stamping a whole ornament here, which kind of takes up a lot of space for your, where you want to put your greeting and everything, if you want to write, I'm just going to put it here so that it's stamped off. You want to make sure that you've got some scrap paper or grid paper underneath. You don't want to be stamping onto your table, unless you've got one that you can just wipe down and you don't really mind. So that's that. So that is then going to go inside there. Yep, I like that. And I'm just going to glue it on the inside. There we go. And then if you wanted to, before you glue it in, you could use your Stampin' Blends and colour this in, or alternatively, if you've got different coloured cardstock, you could stamp on that and then punch it. But that is basically my card. I'll do the envelope. What a devil. Living dangerously. Make sure I got it the right way round. That'd be a bit of a disaster if it's the wrong way round. That one I'm going to make sure I get on there. There we go. So that's my envelope. So that is my card for today's Virtual Card A Cuppa. I hope you've enjoyed that. So that's today's. And then the other two that I had, which now disappeared inside my bag somewhere, are here. Oops. Sorry, I'm mumbling. That one and that one. So I hope you've enjoyed that. As I said, I will put the instructions up on my Facebook page, and the video will be uploaded as well. And then it's also, I've now started to upload them to YouTube. It's just really easy to do when I'm here at my mum's. But starting next week, of course, I'm going to be back at home. So it doesn't necessarily mean I'll be able to get things uploaded to YouTube and stuff quite as quickly. Here it'll take like 10 minutes, and at home it'll take, well, it has been known to take a day, but there you go. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. And I'll also put the instructions up. Next week, it's stamping techniques. It's stamping cards and techniques, I should say. So I will put a little supply list up on the Facebook page if you want to join in next Wednesday. So if you want any of this, please let me know, or you can just simply go to oakvillecrafts.com and click on the online shop and shop for yourself. Okay, that's it. Take care of yourselves, and hopefully, well, I'll see you, well, you'll hear me next week, but yeah, hopefully this lockdown coming tomorrow will only last till beginning of December, but I guess we have to wait and see. All right, take care, look after yourselves, and happy stamping. Bye.